Okay, I've got us opened up to the Holman Bible Dictionary to start video 19 of Fire Mouse. So, alright, this is video 19 of Fire Mouse. Okay, we're trying to get to the most root cause of this understanding about this business of Sennacherib and Hezekiah. The connection that we find with the most prominent features of this symbolic event. Now, I say symbolic event because it's the way that it's being described to us now in symbolisms. But these symbolisms are based upon an actual event. But the event plays itself out in repercussions as more or less smaller or lesser events that have been inspired by an ultimate event. And I call that the predeterminate condition. I've done some videos about it. If you got time, search the playlist, you might see it. So let's just get back to what I would consider the basic inspiration of this current reality. You know, at least the mainstream reality that we're in, and that would be temptation. You can look at New York City, the Big Apple. All right? The New York City, even being New York, as in double, even being double vision, the two towers, double. New York City was the 11th state, 11 mirror, double. It's all there. So there's an inspiration that is behind the manifestation of New York City. And we know the people that are inspired, you know, to create these structures and geometry, if you will, coded and otherwise. Okay, that would be the secret societies. So you can see New York City is inspired more or less by the temptation event from the Garden of Eden. And that has something to do with the serpent. Of course, in symbolism, but is hiding that feature of the serpent wisdom, which is offering that ever so present temptation, even in our society now, of ye are gods. Take this fruit, my wisdom, and you will be God, basically. But we see that everybody that's taken the fruit has become blind. And then the people that manifest the reality construct inspired from these things, even inspired from that serpent they're inspired from as their God, they have built the very construct that now they're supposedly so unhappy with that they want to destroy. How ironic is that? And it's their creation. But yet they're trying to foist it in some sort of way as it's someone else's and not their doing. You know, they're trying to pull the wool over, in a sense, maybe even their own eyes, if you will. And that kind of works both ways, I think. But by pulling the wool over their own eyes, they're pretending to be sheep. In all reality, they're the idol shepherds who are the wolves of these sheep that have become blind. And I guess they're the blind now leading these other blind. But the blind that have been deceived, I would consider, or that they're trying to decease, more or less, but I would consider that they're innocent. They haven't purposely led themselves in this direction. They've been looking for the good thing, but instead the bad has been offered. They've been looking for the ripe fruit, but yet the rotten fruit has been offered. So this is where Savior comes in, you know? The truth of the ultimate Savior, the only Savior that I'm aware of, Jesus Christ. And it means more than just one way in looking at it, and I'm trying to get you to see the multiple ways that it will manifest. So these men, in their irony, are seeking to destroy their own creation, which installed within it, its very fabric, is the inspiration for the symbols that they covet and that they're all about. So we can see there's an agenda within it. So to connect this agenda that we have, that is basically a repercussion of an original impact event, the temptation event, the offering of this apple in its many manifest, even from the embryonic state that the serpent's seeking to get into, the apple being known as a morula, And then also the apple being symbolism of knowledge and wisdom as a fruit to achieve something. But yet we know that the serpent's ultimate goal was to achieve his manifest into physical form, and that knowledge given to those that were deceived and become blinded by it would be his iniquity workers that would put that occult science into effect and bring him into fruition, but rotten fruition. And I think that's what most of them have been missing, because they have been watching that carrot dangling before their own eyes, but yet being the beast of burden pulling the cart, who we now know is Melkart, and that's a representation of an ancient mighty man. But we see that's the genetic descendancy in which this fallen prince was hoping to get into as that tabernacle or temple, that body temple that was already defiled by free will of choice in ancient times. Universal law that makes him almost thinking he's following the universal laws by not encroaching on the free will, but yet the free will is already being encroached on by the use of deception in the very beginning of this historical blunder that he helped sponsor. So we're going to see the same thing appear here. Why are the Assyrians so upset with Hezekiah? What was he doing that was so dangerous? What was he challenging? And we're going to see a connection here with the symbolism for Enki, that he even destroys that bronze or even brazen serpent that Moses was reportedly instructed to create while the Israelites were in the wilderness. Hezekiah destroys this. Now, before I simply just read what we have here, I want you to understand that this is where it begins to start connecting to me personally a little bit with some things that have taken place in my life. And we're going to talk about a dream that I had that is of me destroying this very same symbolic serpent. And I think I had this dream sometime around 20 years ago. But I wouldn't really even consider it a dream. I would consider it a waking manifest. It was like nothing I ever experienced in my life, and I never even understood what it meant then. I just recently began to understand now, but it was so profound that I immediately told my dad the very morning I woke up after it had happened. And then anybody else that was close to me has heard me speak about this over the last 20 years. And then now, as I come to this story with the mice and the Sennacherib and the bubonic and Nanohuatzin and this business here of this miraculous blast destroying this oppressive force, I ran across this with Hezekiah, looking into him a little further about a week ago, and I was literally amazed as I found that Hezekiah too is connected to this want of religious reform, bringing everything back to the truth of mercy, goodness, compassion for all. Obviously not what the army of Sennacherib was seeking to do, right? And then, of course, what their armies are seeking to do right now, even using the very same sources of deception. We'll talk about what the army of Sennacherib, or at least some of his emissaries or ambassadors, were doing, which were shouting rude things to the Jews that were held up in Jerusalem on that wall, and they were basically using psychological warfare against them. Give me 1 second. Babylon can't stop I, not I and I. Hezekiah's son and successor of Ahaz as king of Judah. Hezekiah began his reign when he was 25 years old. At this time in history, the nation of Assyria had risen to power. Hezekiah began his reign by bringing religious reform to Judah. Hezekiah was not willing to court the favor of the Assyrian kings. The temple in Jerusalem was reopened. The idols were removed from the temple. Temple vessels that had been desecrated during Ahaz's reign were sanctified for use in the temple. The sacrifices were initiated with singing and the sounds of musical instruments. The tribes in the northern kingdom, Israel, had been subjected to Assyrian domination. Hezekiah invited the Israelites to join him in the celebration of the Passover in Jerusalem. Places of idol worship were destroyed. Hezekiah even destroyed the bronze serpent. Hezekiah even destroyed the bronze serpent. Wow. Now there's a serpent that we're talking about that is symbolism of this ancient god, connecting us now to symbolisms of even Assyrian ancient mighty men who are now waging war against Judah.